Hello everybody. How was that female-shaped hole in your life created? In my life, in everybody's life? The answer ties in to one of my previous videos discussing and defining what love is, and I'd like to attempt to answer that question in a meaningful way now. If the most noble definition of love is patience, then certainly there are few, if any, parents on earth who love their children in this way. Certainly it can be argued that parents are sometimes patient. Yes, they are. Or perhaps most of the time they're patient. And therefore, they do love their children most of the time or some of the time. But I argue that you either love someone or you don't. There is no sometimes when it comes to love. So, how does a parent create a female-shaped hole in the life of their son? It begins with that very first impatient or angry reaction from his parents. You see, a patient response is a loving response, and it produces a child who responds from the goodness within them to understand what is right, and their allegiance to what is right becomes independent of the mentor or the parent. And I know that's kind of heady and confusing. I'm going to try to clarify. The very first impatient or angry reaction from your parents introduced two very dark emotions in you: fear and guilt. Now, they seem to be rather natural emotions, as all of us have experienced them many times. But these emotions introduced to us because of an angry or impatient parent is why our natural allegiance to what is right and what is good becomes a fear and guilt-based allegiance to the approval of the one who made us feel that way. As children, we don't want to live our lives in fear and guilt. And yet, the impatient parent drives us, torments us, if you will, to comply or face fear and guilt-based consequences. Again, a patient parent does not introduce these feelings in his or her children. And so the child who witnesses firsthand what love is, patience, models their own behavior after the parent, aided by what I believe to be an internal compass that confirms right from wrong. You see, the proper way one who was truly loved will live is with an allegiance to goodness and what is right. And this is independent of whoever trains them. And that's an important distinction. It's independent of whoever trains them. An impatient parent destroys this allegiance and this independence that I believe children are predisposed to, and instead the child transfers his allegiance to the parent, him or herself, to rid themselves of the torment of that fear and guilt that the parent themselves are using to drive the child to comply. As the son or daughter, for that matter, gets older, he or she will seek out a mate to have this same allegiance with. The tormented son, who would have otherwise had no sense of anything missing that a female could fill, begins a pursuit of a pseudo-dysfunctional relationship similar, and attempts to transition his allegiance to that new female. You see, this is all he has known. This is how he defines loving and being loved. So, his new girlfriend, who at first displays an almost otherworldly devotion and love, gets him hooked on the approval he so desperately strived for growing up. Because he sees this as real love, the love and the patience that his parents failed to give, he transfers his allegiance from his parents to this girl, and suddenly this girl means the world to him. This girl means everything. This girl proves, in a way, how fucked up his parents were. But the moment she has him hooked, she sets that hook by beginning the cycle he is all too familiar with. Her very first impatient and angry moment reawakens that fear and guilt once again, and he is now owned by her.